Gliding through the trees, the wind whispers a faint melody to the rhythm of the footsteps of soldiers. The narrow mountain pass feels ominous and forbidding, and yet there is a peaceful aura to it that calms Minamoto's vanguard. The common soldiers groan as a deluge suddenly begins, transforming the soil into a treacherous sea of mud. The battle-hardened samurai alone are silent. Their honor is their prime concern, and it rests on the success of their mission to deliver supplies to the besieged city of Kurikara. After years of injustice, the Minamoto clan declared open opposition to the dominance of the wicked Taira, splitting Japan in two. Lord Minamoto controls the east, while his cousin Yoshinaka holds the frontier. Throughout 2.5 years of war, the Taira have steadily advanced, rarely seeing defeat. Their armies strike at Kurikara in a three-pronged assault, while an auxiliary force seizes the lighthouse at the point of the Noto Peninsula, controlling naval passage in and out of the Toyama Gulf. Entourages of samurai patrol all roads to Kurikara, and enemy supply lines reach all the way to Kyoto, the imperial capital. This will be the decisive battle of this war. If Kurikara falls, the Taira will be free to flood into the Minamoto heartland and claim victory. If Kurikara holds and the Taira are defeated, the tide will turn, and Minamoto may even be able to bring the fight to the gates of Kyoto. Thunder boomed as spears of lightning pierced the sky. Driven back from the walls of Kurikara, the Taira army retreated in panic as Minamoto claimed victory after victory. Smoke rose from the enemy camps and floated towards Kyoto, an ominous shadow of the doom approaching those inside the city. Offering thanks and prayers to the gods, Minamoto halted and made camp outside Kyoto. Secretly, it pounded the walls for days, reducing its great castles to piles of rubble. As the main gate fell, samurai poured into the city, while Minamoto strode triumphantly to the imperial palace and planted his banner. With the power of the Taira broken and their capital taken, a seemingly doomed rebellion had triumphed. It would take 2 more long years, but Minamoto's prowess as a commander ensured victory at the Battle of Danoura, ending the Genpei War and ushering in the new era of the Kamakura Shogunate.
The ships slide through a mirror-flat ocean stained red with spring seaweed. Columns of rock improbably draped with pine trees tower out of the mist. The men on the ships watch silently as the samurai prowl the deck above. They will make land near Kyoto, and their lord Hideyoshi will lead the siege of the city of 10,000 shrines. Within Kyoto, rebels hold prisoner Lord Nobunaga, the man who would unify Japan. The islands of Japan remain a patchwork of bickering samurai warlords who still settle conflicts with ritualized duels. Nobunaga seeks to forge a single Japan, dragging the provincial samurai into the modern era. Like his master Nobunaga, Hideyoshi wins his battles by volleys of muskets, fully exploiting firearms recently introduced by Portuguese sailors. Hideyoshi intends no bargaining. He will demand once for Nobunaga's release, then storm the city. Kyoto paid dearly for Nobunaga's death, and in the end, Hideyoshi was able to accomplish what his mentor could not. By 1590, Japan was a unified country. Great though it was, this accomplishment did not satisfy Hideyoshi, who then set about on an ambitious plan to conquer China and Korea. Japan was not free of conflict, as civil wars continued to rise and fall for many years. However, the Ieyasu family, former allies of Hideyoshi, continued to rule Japan as shoguns until the 19th century.
Hidden in the dense jungle of the Yucatan, the Mayan civilization thrives. Massive stone pyramids carved with images of gods and kings tower above the sea of green vegetation. The Yucatan is dominated by two city-states, Tikal and Calakmul. Competing for control of the rich trade routes throughout the peninsula, the two cities have warred with each other for as long as anyone can remember. To secure the jade and cacao trade, Tikal founded the city of Dos Pilas. Now the old king of Tikal sends his youngest son, Balaj Chand Kawil, to rule it, while his oldest son will rule Tikal itself. Balaj, however, is not happy with his small inheritance. The god of war plants seeds of resentment and hate in him, and Balaj is convinced that he would be a better ruler of Tikal than his brother. After years of conflict, the war god's thirst for blood was satisfied. Balaj, having betrayed his father and brother and sacked the city he held dear, was plagued by guilt. Despite his victory, he relinquished his claim on Tikal and instead returned to Dos Pilas, where he spent the remainder of his days. Later, Tikal was rebuilt, and it finally overcame its rival, Calakmul. However, it never truly recovered from the betrayal of one of its dearest sons, and the Mayan civilization steadily declined.
711 AD, year 89 of the Hagira. I begin my tale as the winds throw the sands up into a spiral, forcing the men and horses to shield their eyes and seek refuge. I cannot help but notice how the camels stand tall, undaunted. We are a people of the horse, but we have the resilience of camels as well. Invaders have swept through this land for centuries, and yet we Berbers have remained powerful and strong-willed. Despite our strength, we have only rarely ventured outside of our homeland on the path of conquest. That is about to change. A man named Tariq ibn Ziyad has sowed the seeds of ambition among warriors and simple herdsmen alike. Then we prepare for war. Tariq is not as other men. Once a slave, he rose to become a brilliant general. Strong, charismatic, and tactful, he's also a Berber like us. Thousands of men flocked to his banner, and men who formerly shunned the thought of venturing across the sea now eagerly board the ships destined for Iberia. With Allah as my witness, I shall truthfully record the events to come, for good or ill. Backed by fear and treachery, the slow Visigoth forces fell easily to our agile horsemen. Thousands lie dead, and yet one cannot help but admire how the Visigoths fought valiantly and honorably to the bitter end. It is a melancholy thing to see their corpses left to the crows and wolves. As we entered the city of Cordoba, our men stared in awe at the architecture and riches on display. Now is no time for resting, Tariq tells us. There is much left to be done. 712 AD, year 90 of the Hagira. Banners billow in the wind, and the tips of spears glisten in the sun as hundreds of soldiers ride by. A horn sounds as the front of the column approaches a promontory overlooking a large, glorious city. We have reached Toledo, the center of the Visigoth kingdom. I can hardly believe my eyes at her beauty. A city worthy of a king. Tariq is determined that we capture Toledo quickly, before the neighboring cities have the chance to react. The Visigoths' heartland will be difficult to subdue. Opposing us, in addition to Toledo, are the cities of Seville, Merida, Talavera, and Guadalajara. Many of these cities date back to a time when the Romans still ruled these lands. We are not alone, however. Tariq's former master, Musa ibn Usair, has landed in the south with a large army. If we can capture Toledo and hold it until Musa's soldiers arrive, we will crush the Visigoths with a two-pronged attack. The Visigoth cities did not fall easily. These people truly fight like lions. To breach the walls of Toledo, Tariq ordered the construction of two large armored rams with iron heads. These engines are indeed fearsome to behold. The gates of city after city crumbled before their might. A cloud of dust could be seen from miles away as Musa's army approached, laden down with the spoils of war after having breached the cities of Seville and Merida. Both armies celebrated their success with much revelry. 713 AD, year 91 of the Hagira. The meeting between Tariq and Musa was strange to witness. The respect between the two is considerable, but there is an air of competition, of rivalry. The Caliph has ordered that Tariq and Musa return to Damascus, but they refuse to be robbed of their glory. Dividing the army, Tariq strikes north, while Musa targets the city of Saragossa. Recognizing our might, a local Visigoth lord, Theodomir of Mercia, has pledged us his support. Home to a strong army and a thriving economy, Mercia will be a potent ally. However, we have a new and dangerous enemy. Pelayo of Asturias, a Visigoth nobleman, has rallied what was a fractured resistance into a formidable adversary. In his dominion in Asturias, a large army gathers, preparing to attack. If we can weather the storm that is sure to come, with the blessing of Allah, we may even be able to conquer as far as Septimania. Septimania and the Ebro Valley have fallen beneath the heel of our glorious armies, but we have not achieved a complete victory. Tariq and Musa were forced to return to Damascus, and without their leadership, it would be difficult to defeat the Asturians. The future of the conquest looks bleak. I shall continue to chronicle the events ahead, though I fear that our land may fall victim to invasions and internal strife, like so many other kingdoms before us. 732 AD, year 110 of the Hagira. After many years, our people have finally found another glorious leader to follow. Seeking vengeance for the defeat of our armies at the hands of the Franks over 10 years before, Abd al-Rahman al-Tafiki has rallied our armies for another campaign. Bred on the battlefield, al-Tafiki is no stranger to the ways of war. In addition to successful forays against the Visigoth, Asturians and Franks, his most recent exploit was the quelling of a rebellion by the Berber governor in Catalonia. To reach the land of the Franks, we must make a dangerous crossing of the Pyrenees. To arrive at the other side in time for spring, we will be forced to start this journey in the dead of winter. The rugged terrain is difficult for armies to cross, and our enemies will surely seek to hinder our passage. Many men will not survive the journey. I grow old, but I will make this journey through the frigid mountains so that I might see another year of conquest. Truly, I have not endured such a trying journey in the entirety of my life. The cold and cruel winds were like nothing I have ever experienced, and the fear of enemy ambushes lurking behind every bend is enough to drive a man mad. Between the elements and enemy blades, many of our men perished on the crossing. Nevertheless, we arrived in considerable force on the other side. It is more than many hoped for. We have little time to rest and recover our strength. The Franks will not lie waiting forever.